Part 52. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyubuletin Chigwa. Chapter 514. At this time, the atmosphere was very silent. Luo Quan and the other three stood in the distance, looking at Yuan Weilang with pity. This 7th grade official was so courageous that he even dared to attack Yayushin in an attempt to destroy the evidence. The night travel god is responsible for supervising officials and has the power to kill them first and then report them. Once anyone dares to take action against the night traveling god, they can be killed regardless of their official position. This is why court officials regard the night god as a scourge. And the many actions of this 7th grade Yuan Weilang can be regarded as provoking the authority of the night walker god. He was killed and his relatives may also be affected. Moreover, taking action against a being who can raise a 100-meter high mountain with just a wave of his hand, isn't this just looking for shit? As for framed accusations, hell, so what if they framed you? Can you still resist? Think of this. Luo Quan remembered the tragic experience of entering a copy of the horror game in the past. Aren't the ghosts in those dungeons using this method to bully players? It's just that the identities have been reversed now. The other side. Yuan Weilang, who had lost most of his strength to resist after having his legs pierced by Shen Jian, was extremely frightened at this time. Looking at Shen Jian walking towards him, a chill ran down his spine, and every hair on his body was trembling crazily. Died young. He never expected that the leader of a team of unscrupulous Yayushin would have the power to kill his wife in an instant and play with him. This is more than just kicking the iron plate, this horse is kicking the steel plate. His heart felt so cold. My heart is sinking. Every time Shen Jian took a step, the heavy footsteps seemed to hit his heart hard, and a deep sense of suffocation came over him. Sir, please spare my life. I am willing to give up all my family's assets. I just ask you to let me go. No hesitation. Yuan Weilang immediately started wailing and begging for mercy. Shen Jian was condescending and said casually, "Where are the stolen goods you took away from Brother Min's house now? Is there a golden bead in it? Hear this." Yuan Weilang was slightly startled. The pupils shrank. It turned out that the target of this group of people was not him at all, but his elder brother's stolen goods. Think of this. He wanted to cry but had no tears. Damn it. If you need these things, just ask. How could it be possible that I wouldn't give it if you didn't ask? If you ask, where can there be so many tragedies? See this. Shen Jian seemed to know what the other party was thinking, and the old god said, "That's different. If I come to ask for it in person, I will say that I rely on my identity as the night god to oppress the people and be a good citizen. But if I give you a rebel first, then I can justifiably confiscate the stolen goods and solve a rebellion case." Yuan Weilang. He looked stunned. Damn it. Your despicableness and shamelessness must have been born in your mother's womb. This is nothing special. Being targeted by a living bastard like you is really bad luck for 8 lifetimes. Even if you die, you have to contribute to your performance. Grass. You know how to recycle. The more he thought about it, the paler his face became. He replied tremblingly, "I hid those stolen goods underground. As for the golden bead, it was in my study. I saw that my elder brother couldn't put it down before, so I thought it was some valuable item, so I took it secretly. It's strange to say that since I got this bead, my luck seems to have improved. I always win every bet, and there seems to be a possibility of promotion in the court. But now it seems that it is all my imagination." Hear the words. A flash of light flashed in Shen Jian's eyes. Is there any theory that dragon energy can improve luck? According to Yuan Weilang's story, after taking away the golden beads, his luck began to improve, and it was as if the ghost was cheating. The other party didn't know the origin of the golden beads, but he knew. The golden bead contains the energy of a dragon, which is one of the national destiny of the Qing kingdom, and it is also the authority of the Yintian palace. Mastering these dragon energies is equivalent to mastering one of them, Luo Fengtian. And now it seems, these dragon energies also have the effect of improving the host's luck. Just by having the right to own something, your luck will visibly improve. What if the dragon energy is contained? Become the so-called child of luck? Shen Jian clicked his tongue. His brows furrowed slightly. He is not worried about someone discovering the use of dragon energy, but he is worried that someone's luck will be so good that it goes against him. In that case, he will never be able to collect all 9 dragon energy. This is the troublesome part. He is not afraid of the enemy coming to his door, but he is afraid that the enemy will not come close to him. Thinking. Luo Quan had returned to the study and brought over a golden bead. Shen Jian took it. I found this to be an ordinary bead. Except for the golden halo above, which is natural, there is nothing magical about it. Think about it. Shen Jian crushed it directly. A soaring golden dragon roared up from the bead. Its terrifying energy made everyone present turn pale. It seems that he did not expect that there is such a mysterious existence hidden in this ordinary bead. Shen Jian looked as usual. Raise your hand and bend it. The golden dragon immediately calmed down and hovered quietly in his hand. At the same time, a scarlet panel emerged. Hidden mission, the wrath of the Evernight King. Task conditions, collect the energy of the 9 dragons to reduce the national destiny of the Qing dynasty. Current progress, 1/9. Note, the player currently has a dragon energy, and his luck is at 100%. Note, this task is the only epic level task, and the rewards are distributed in real-time mode. Note, collect 3 dragon spirits to unlock special rewards. Swipe across the game board. Shen Jian continued to look at the golden dragon in his hand. He did not feel any aura related to Zhouju Yintian Palace in this dragon spirit. In other words, after he wanted to find a dragon's energy, his idea of finding all the dragon's energy was shattered. This made Shen Jian frown. Because this is really bad news for him. Soon, Shen Jian grasped the dragon energy and felt it carefully. There was no clue of other dragon auras at all. Not even basic fuzzy sensing. It seems that each dragon energy has no connection with each other. Shen Jian was a little disappointed. Except for the so-called luck at 100%, this dragon energy has no effect. Thinking. Yuan Weilang looked at Shen Jian cautiously. My heart is empty. He felt as if he had lost something precious. That golden dragon looked like something extraordinary at first glance. What this man did today was entirely because of this thing. But he was blind and missed the opportunity. Regret and annoyance intertwined in his heart, and finally turned into despair. Now he just hopes that after the other party gets the benefit, he will treat him like a fart. Just thinking about it? Shen Jian had already raised his head. He glanced at Yuan Weilang. Arrested. Hear this. Yuan Weilang was anxious. I am super. Just kill them all, right? Sir, you have already got what you want. Don't just hold on to me anymore. I promise, I won't say a word about what happened today. Shen Jian looked incomprehensible and said, if people do good deeds, God will bless them. Yuan Weilang? He laughed angrily. God does really good things. Do you think what you are doing now has anything to do with charity? He broke into private houses, collected large bribes, extorted money, killed people, framed people, and forged jade seals. Ordinary people commit 1 or 2 crimes and they are already full of evil deeds. You are guilty of all the damn crimes, even the death penalty is light for you. Where do you have the face to say do good deeds and God will bless you? Shen Jian was indifferent and waved his hand. I mean, I don't need to do good things, because I will protect myself, so I can do whatever I want. Yuan Weilang. You ride the horse. Answer, master. Soon. Yuan Weilang was taken down. Charge, privately engraving a jade seal, bribing the night travel god failed, and attempted to launch an attack. Shen Jian expressed emotion. He really worked hard for King Guo. If this doesn't award him one of the top 10 people who moved the Qing kingdom, it would be an apology for his efforts. Walk out of the mansion. Shen Jian began to think about the next plan again. The 9 dragon energies are scattered all over the world. It is undoubtedly a foolish dream to collect them all in a short time. And dragon energy have no ability to sense each other. He has all his power, but nowhere to put it to use. Shen Jian pondered. Suddenly, he thought of something. What the people want, the dragon spirit follows. This is one of the hints for the hidden mission. Based on the meaning of the sentence, it can be easily inferred that as long as it is recognized and sought after by the people of Qing Kingdom, it is possible to attract dragon energy. Think of this. Shen Jian narrowed his eyes. Her Royal Highness the Princess of Daking once said that the people of Qing are currently denounced by the traitorous third-rank minister of Hubu. This is the time when people's hearts are united. If he exposes the true face of the traitor at this time, can he attract a large number of followers? Think of this. The smile on Shen Jian's face became even crazier. There is an attitude of not taking it too seriously and trying to turn the Qing kingdom upside down. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 515. Thinking about it for a long time. Shen Jian thinks this plan is perfect. Compared with the massacre of a city in Qingguo, which aroused the anger of the whole people with the same hatred of the enemy, he felt that shaking out the real traitors would resonate more with the people of Daking. It can also improve the favor of these people. Let the people's hearts work for him. Only, there is still a lot of planning involved. If you just expose the traitor, you may be able to get a moment of cheers from the Qing people, but he will never be remembered. Shen Jian was thoughtful. I have an idea in my heart. Soon. He returned to Jinglao. Show the dragon spirit in front of Princess Midalin. Looking at this tiny version of the golden dragon, Her Royal Highness the Princess also stood up suddenly, with a bit of unconcealable excitement flashing in her bright eyes, and said in a strange tone, "It is really the national destiny of Qingguo." Said. She reached out, wanting to touch the dragon's energy. The little golden dragon gave a look of disgust, as if to say, "What is your identity, and you dare to touch me in front of the master? As my boss." Princess Midalin. She had a look on her face. Choking slightly. What's more, it's a Tsundere dragon aura. She retracted her hand and tried to sound calm, but the rise and fall of her chest indicated that she was far from being as unconcerned as she seemed. That is the national destiny of Daking. Even His Majesty currently has only a fragmented dragon chi in his hands. If she can possess this dragon energy, it proves that she is also destined by destiny, and those unfavorable remarks about her will soon fall apart. The status gap between her and the prince can also be minimized. It can be said. With just this dragon energy, her situation can be turned around immediately. Pity. The fate of the country disowns her. But the result is still the same. The owner of Dragon Chi was selected by her, so she naturally had the advantage. Think of this. Princess Midalin's eyes were strange and she said, "I have checked the information and it turns out that the dragon energy embodied in the national destiny will only choose the owner they recognize. If the dragon energy cannot be recognized, even if it finds a body that carries the dragon energy, it will be of no use. Besides His Majesty, you are the second person who can make Dragon Chi recognize you as your master. Once His Majesty knows about it, I'm afraid he will spare no effort to eradicate you. After all, being recognized by Dragon Chi means that the person who belongs to Dragon Chi has destiny and has the potential to become the Lord of Qing Kingdom. Shen Jian said nothing. There is no room for two tigers in one mountain. What's more, there is no reason for anyone to covet the position of ninth five supreme being. As long as he is an emperor, he will not be indifferent to this kind of thing. Even Emperor Qing was no exception. So what? Shen Jian tilted his head and said. Princess Milan? There was a big question mark in her heart. No. I've said so much, and this is your reaction? Did you understand it? Isn't it just the Emperor of Qing who wants to kill me? Shen Jian shrugged. See this. Princess Milan didn't know how to react for a moment. She looked at Shen Jian with a strange look. I want to know how the other party can use such a calm tone to say something about an imminent disaster. That is the murderous intention of the emperor of a country. Not to mention that the emperor of Qing Kingdom himself was an extremely terrifying world-destroying ghost and god. Just one spit from the people of Qing Kingdom was enough to drown Shen Jian. How dare he remain indifferent? If you do this, it will appear that the warning I just made is made out of a teacup. At this time, the eldest princess of Daking was very uneasy. But the psychological quality brought by being in a high position allowed her to quickly adjust her mentality. She has no choice but to pamper her own people if she doesn't. Then, she gathered her thoughts and said, you are lucky, you just happened to catch up with His Majesty's annual spring court meeting. During this period, the court meeting was changed from once every 5 days to once a month, and lasts until the end of spring. During this period, His Majesty will be in seclusion, and the Crown Prince will act as an agent for the government. You don't need to worry about being noticed for a short period of time. Hear this. Shen Jian had no reaction. Instead, he asked, do you know where Prince Li is now? Hear this. Miao Lin was stunned for a moment, then realized what he was doing. A pretty face full of qi cultivation skills changed slightly, and she looked at Shen Jian in disbelief. Why are you asking about the whereabouts of my second uncle? Do you want to? Shen Jian grinned. I think we should give the people of Qing State the right to know. They have the right to know who the real traitors are. Are you crazy? Princess Milan was extremely angry. Are you going to kill yourself for a woman like this? Getting dragon energy is already an unexpected gain. Stop it, otherwise there will be night wandering gods waiting outside to arrest you. Shen Jian raised his eyebrows and said without blushing, Your Highness, you asked me before who I am loyal to, and I can still tell you now that I am loyal to this country. Do you know why Long Qi chose me? It's because dragon energy can tell who is good for King Guo. Little Jinlong. It sounds like you are farting. Little Jinlong blinked his eyes and buried his head, as if he couldn't bear to listen anymore. But Shen Jian was not affected at all. He stared directly at Princess Milan and said, when I obtained the dragon Qi, I also knew how to retrieve the remaining dragon Qi. The most important thing is to win the hearts and minds of the people. If this can be done and the people's hearts and minds support us, we may be able to attract a few dragons to restore Daking's national destiny. Your Highness, I am loyal to this country, but who are you loyal to? Would you rather make Daking a better place, or stick to this stagnant court? Shen Jian's words were aggressive. He approached step by step, getting closer and closer to Princess Milan. Finally, he forced the eldest princess, who could not hide her majesty despite her nobility, to the corner of the table. Put your hands on the table. His deep eyes stared straight at each other. This moment, the distance between the two is only 5 centimeters. Almost stuck together. The breath he exhales seems to hit the other person's face. Princess Milan was half leaning on the table, breathing rapidly and looking away. Too close, so close that she could clearly feel the strong masculine aura on Shen's body. This breath made her heart beat faster. Because no man has ever dared to approach her so boldly and force her into a corner, unable to move. It's not that I can't move, but I don't dare to move. It seemed that if she moved, this man would turn into a beast, pounce on her, and strip her naked. A long time. The eldest princess of Daking said with a slightly trembling voice, I know what you mean, but the current situation in Daking cannot be changed by just a few words. Then start now. Shen Jian's eyes were filled with strange colors. Seeing the noble yet majestic Princess Daking, even her eyelashes were trembling slightly because of his actions, and she completely lost her previous calmness. At this time, the lips between the two of them were only 5 or 6 centimeters apart. As long as he lowered his head a little, he could taste the lips of Her Royal Highness, the eldest princess whom Daking respected most, and invade the territory that had never been occupied before and put his own label on it. Shen Jian's eyes flashed. The arrival of the eldest princess of Daking. Current status, confused, lost, shocked, conflicted. Favorability, 53, familiar. Look at the current status of the favorability panel. Think about it. Shen Jian still didn't kiss her. Under normal circumstances, 53 points of favorability is already very high, and you can treat the other person as a friend. But what he wants to do is an intimate act that goes beyond the scope of friends. 53 points of favorability is still too low, not even the ambiguous stage. If there is more than 60 points, he may offend Her Royal Highness today. If you kiss her now, no matter how hard you think, your favorability will not increase. On the contrary, it will drop significantly. It's not worth it for a little bit of food. Your Highness, what are you still hesitating about? Are you going to let the prince ride on your head and dominate you? Shen Jian worked hard. Princess Milan's chest was heaving and her heart was pounding. She looked at Shen Jian and pursed her lips. What can you do? Storm into Prince Li's residence, capture him, and ask him to tell you all the evidence of his crime. Shen Jian answered briefly. Princess Milan. She blinked, looking confused. Seeing that Shen Jian was full of momentum just now, she thought that Shen Jian had some good ideas, but she didn't expect that he was still reckless. What does it mean to rush into Prince Li's mansion and capture him? What's the difference between you and He Lian who carried out terrorist attacks? For those who don't know, it's because you are the president behind the Black Lotus Society. This method is really unpopular. There is no sophisticated strategy at all. Believe me. Shen Jian said solemnly. See this. Princess Milan also knew about Shen Jian's determination. She gently held the long hair on her shoulders, made a decision, and finally decided to believe Shen Jian for once. Because he has never let her down. And created miracles again and again. Just what she said. If she doesn't pamper her people, who will she pamper? I believe you, but you only have one chance. Once you fail, you will not be able to launch a second attack. Princess Milan said seriously. Moment. What are you still doing here? Your Highness, you haven't told me where Prince Li is yet. Shen Jian said innocently. Princess Milan? She was slightly startled. Looking at Shen Jian, he suddenly thought of something. This guy was so impassioned, approached her so presumptuously, and told her so much. Could it be that he chose to tell her his plan just because he didn't know where Prince Li was now? Her eyes became very different. Then she suddenly thought of the scene that had just made her frightened. Shen Jian couldn't help but spit. This scumbag. Immediately. She said angrily, you don't even know the other party's location. I really don't know where you got the courage. Although Prince Li's crime was cleared after he was blamed on the third-grade minister, the matter was beyond His Majesty's tolerance after all, so he was confined to a manor outside the jurisdiction. I have inquired and found that there are more than 300 guards guarding the manor and there are also Prince Li's men in the manor. To capture such a place, at least 2 ghosts and gods are needed. And although the manor is out of effect, it is always under the surveillance of the Imperial Guards. Once an accident occurs, the Imperial Guards can provide support at any time. If it is surrounded, even with the strength of ghosts and gods, they will never be able to escape, because the Imperial Guards, the military leader, is also a ghost. Her Royal Highness the Princess shared the information she knew. Shen Jian's eyes showed excitement. Sure enough, if there is anything you don't know about in Daking, you should just come to the eldest princess. Although the other party chose to go to jail obediently after being framed, the intelligence network spread all over Qingguo. I am afraid no one knows how many forces in Qingguo this eldest princess has reached out to. Without the eldest princess, he really didn't know where he would have found out about the prince. Get information. Shen Jian turned and left. Before leaving the cell, he paused, thought for a moment, and turned back to ask, Your Majesty, do you know what it takes for a commoner to marry a princess? What? Princess Milan's heart skipped a beat. The tone was a little panicked. But it soon calmed down. If you want to marry a princess, you must first become a noble. Hear this. Shen Jian nodded. He winked at Princess Milan. Disappear in place. The eldest princess of Daking was left alone, wandering about alone. What does he mean? Want to marry a princess? Is he expressing something to me? Thinking. Her bright eyes were rippled like bright moons, and her heart was a little confused. The arrival of the eldest princess of Daking. Favorability, 58. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyu Buletin Chigua. Chapter 516. Get out of jail. Shen Jian saw Luo Quan and his party waiting there. Besides, there are also a number of players who have entered the 5-star dungeon. Shen Jian glanced at it. There are 6 people left. There were a total of 15 players participating in the Nanjiang District Tournament. Except for the 2 vampire players who were eliminated by him in advance, there were still 13 players left to enter the dungeon. Among them, the foreign female player with the ID Lucy has been excluded from the player queue because she has been out of contact for a long time. Based on this calculation, during the period of entering the dungeon, only 4 players died. One of them is also related to him. After all, there were only 3 people killed by the ghosts. The mortality rate is not high. Certainly. This may also be related to the fact that he brought back members of the Black Lotus Society to unify the prisoners in the prison. This move has greatly improved the survival rate of patrolling guards. The other side. When Shen Jian scanned the players in the early game, the players were also looking at Shen Jian. There was no longer any hatred, dissatisfaction, or jealousy in his eyes, only deep desire remained. That look seemed to say, please help me fly, I can pie. At this moment, they looked at Luo Quan with eyes full of envy. A level 38 player should have been the first to die in a 5-star dungeon. However, because of following Shen Jian, he not only survived, but also transformed from a little jailer to a night wandering god. You must know that the night god has a very special status in Qingguo. Once someone is targeted, officials of any high rank will be afraid of him. Under normal circumstances, it is impossible for players to take up such an official position. However, reality is often more absurd. Not only did a player become the night god, but he was also the one with the lowest level among the players. And all this. Full credit to Shen Jian. What happened? Shen Jian asked. Luo Quan came over and explained, they said they want to follow you. At this time, the muscular man with the ID of Roger came out and said in a sincere tone, Yamluo, I am not lying. I have the ability to temporarily fight against a ghost king. It can still come in handy at critical moments. I just hope that I can follow you, just get an official position, at least don't let the supernatural place of the horror world kick me out. As soon as these words came out, the remaining players also rushed to speak. I'm afraid that if I take a step too late, I'll miss the opportunity. Although they had been able to survive in peace during their time in Jinglao, this was not enough. They have not forgotten that it is now the time for the Nanjiang District Championship. If they just survive, the supernatural places in the horror world will not let them go until the day the dungeon is settled. At least kick them out of the supernatural place they joined. Zongs killed them on the spot. No one wants to bet on this possibility. Hear this. Shen Jian's eyes narrowed slightly. Think about it. There was a hint of other thoughts in my mind. The place I'm going to is not very friendly to you. How unfriendly is it? There is a top ghost king sitting here. One player asked weakly. This was already the highest difficulty he could imagine. Ghosts and gods are forbidden to enter. Hear this. All the players were shocked. They all looked at Shen Jian with wide eyes. Ghosts and gods are forbidden? Are you saying that this place is so terrifying that even ghosts and gods can hardly enter it head on? Damn it! Don't you want to break into the palace? What they don't know is what Yama has done. Do you even dare to set foot in such a dangerous place? Is there something wrong with us? Or do you have a question? The mind is in shock. The muscular man with the ID of Roger subconsciously looked at Luo Quan. Although there was a look of surprise on Luo Quan's face, there was no fear at all. This gave him a ridiculous idea. Yama, not afraid of ghosts and gods. What a joke. Is this a stage players can reach? His mind went blank, and there was a storm in his heart. As the player with the highest level in the game, he is only 2 levels away from becoming a 5-star player. Because of this, he knows the limits of players. At level 58, he is full of supernatural horror and can temporarily compete with the most ordinary Ghost King. Come to think of it, 5-star players can only fight against the Ghost King head-on. However, above the Ghost Kings, there are Abyss-level ghosts and top Ghost Kings. It was hard for him to imagine how many levels he had to reach before humans could fight against the terrifying Abyss Ghosts, the top Ghost Kings. Not to mention the legendary ghosts and gods. An existence of that level is still a legend even in the horror world. The kind that will detonate the horror world once it is born. But now, someone told him that Yama is not afraid of ghosts and gods. This moment, the atmosphere at the scene was stagnant. Not long after, the muscular man with the ID of Roger was the first to speak. I'll go. Hear this. The others also reacted. The fact that ghosts and gods are forbidden to enter only proves that this place is really scary, but who said they are going to attack it head on? Don't forget, Shen Jian is the night god. In Qingguo, there are not many people who dare not give Yaoshan face. With this level of identity, the risk factor has been reduced to a minimum. Think of this. Others said yes. See it? Shen Jian smiled. Very good. Remember to record everything you heard later, and then spread it to me. The more people know about it, the better. Everyone didn't know why, but they still nodded in agreement. Soon, Shen Jian had already arrived at a dense forest on the outskirts of the Qingguo capital based on the location given by Her Royal Highness the Princess. Deep in the forest, a magnificent manor standing deep in the jungle comes into view. Ganquan Palace. Saw this name. Others marveled at the luxury of the place. The expressions of the 2 night-wandering gods Bai Shizhen and Bai Shizi who were traveling with them changed greatly. Ganquan Palace? Sir, are you crazy? Bai Shizhen couldn't help but exclaimed. Bai Shishi also swallowed his saliva. Sir, it's too late for us to go back now, otherwise you will not be able to survive the situation even if you are a commander, not to mention that you are only a 4th grade governor. What happened? Seeing such a big reaction from the two of them, Luo Quan said doubtfully. Ganquan Palace is His Majesty's villa. Although His Majesty has abandoned it, I heard that someone has lived here recently. Hear the words. All players were stunned. The Emperor's villa? Grass. This guy is no longer seeking death, he is clearly dancing on the grave. If you break into the Emperor's villa without permission, you will die without a burial place if you are caught. They didn't know Shen Jian's purpose, but those who could live in Ganquan Palace must be relatives of the Emperor. If they collided with each other, they would end up dead. Someone has indeed moved in, it's Prince Li. Shen Jian nodded. Sir, please don't tell me that your target is His Majesty's brother. Oh, that's pretty smart. Shen Jian grinned. Then he ignored everyone and strode away. The excitement on his face could no longer be concealed. Let's go, follow me, don't fall behind, we have only one purpose, don't waste it. Looking at Shen Jian's pace getting faster and faster. Everyone who followed was dumbfounded and couldn't hold their nerve. Damn it, he died young. They must have been blinded by lard at that time, otherwise why would they beg Shen Jian to take them with him? This is not a mission, this is not just going to die. At this time, Luo Quan said unconfidently, according to your Majesty's wishes. He should also know the dangers of the strip, otherwise he would not tell us not to wander around. Breaking into the Emperor's garden without permission is indeed a crime of beheading, but as long as if we are not discovered, then who will know that we have gone in? Hear this analysis. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Really? As long as they are not discovered, who will know they have been there? Don't waste it. This is the purpose and doctrine of their operation. Think of this. Others gain some confidence. Understand that Shen Jian is not without a plan. Look at it this way. It doesn't seem that dangerous to break into Ganquan Palace without permission. After all, Shen Jian must have thought of a way not to be discovered. Then, a group of people followed closely behind. Followed for a while. Shen Jian was not seen. Luo Quan asked in confusion, where is your lord? A player patted him and said, it's, over there. Luo Quan looked in the direction pointed by the player. Shen Jian was seen arriving at the guarded area outside Ganquan Palace and walking towards a jailer guarding here. He raised his eyebrows and said, what are you looking at? Jailer? You broke into the royal forbidden area, how dare you provoke me? Who gave you the courage? Immediately, the jailer instinctively exercised martial law and said not to be outdone, look at you. Try another one. Shen Jian was fierce and his voice was louder than the opponent's. Just try it. The jailer sneered. Boom. The words fell. A bright white arc burst out, blasting the jailer into a piece of black coal. Everyone. Damn it. This is really. Just try it and it will pass. Etc. At this time, a player suddenly remembered, didn't they say don't waste money? Grass. What are you doing now? Sneak in secretly and shoot secretly without anyone noticing? Don't tell us, this is your plan? As long as everyone is killed, the infiltration will be successful. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Bulletin Chi Gua. Chapter 517. At this moment, seeing Shen Jian's bold operation, everyone looked like they were in a panic. His face was a purple color. What's the agreed purpose? What about the promise not to waste time? What the hell are you doing? Are you thinking that the incident wasn't big enough and that we didn't die quickly enough? Everyone wanted to cry but had no tears. They only believed Shen Jian's lies because they were crazy. At this time, something happened. The entire dense forest seemed to be completely revived, with cold winds howling. In an instant, dozens or hundreds of guards with ferocious faces came from a distance. Densely packed. Some skins exploded, exposing bright red intestines, some had hearts eaten, some had a large chunk missing from their necks, some were covered in bright red. The only similarity is that a pair of cold eyes looked over. It's downright chilling. It felt like the heavenly spirit cover had been lifted off, and it was extremely horrifying. Ghost. It was densely packed with ghosts. The number of these ghosts may not be compared to the number of prisoners locked up in the capital prison, but the prisoners are locked up and are always separated from the jailers by an iron window. However, right now, the ghosts can launch supernatural attacks on them at any time. It's over, it's over. Seeing this scene, Vaishizan, one of the night gods, turned pale. These guards are all soldiers who died in the war. Some of them were collected by His Majesty in some important places, and some were established as guards to protect the Qing dynasty. And the guards of Ganquan Palace were some of the toughest soldiers back then. Once they were surrounded, the top Ghost King would have to drop a leg to leave. The most important thing is that by alerting so many guards, the news will reach His Majesty's ears sooner or later, and then it will be all over. Hear this. The players were even more panicked. They, a group of players who are surviving in a 5-star dungeon, will one day attract the final boss of this dungeon? Damn it! What is this? What's the difference between this and the Demon King coming to slaughter the city while the brave is still in the novice village? How virtuous and capable they are! In panic, more and more guards with broken bodies came over stiffly. Where did you come from? You dare to break into the royal family's forbidden area. Catch 'em, catch 'em. I haven't eaten for a long time. Here are some meat dishes. Mine are mine. All the jailers laughed sadly. Yin Qi surges. The supernatural is rampant. Any one of them is as strong as the top red coat level, and most of them are Ghost King level. Otherwise, Emperor Qing would not have arranged him here to monitor Prince Li's every move and prevent him from escaping. How many are you sure you can deal with at the same time? A player looked at Roger, the highest level player in the audience, with fear. Roger. He glanced at the hundreds of fierce ghosts that were getting closer and closer. The corners of his mouth twitched. God can deal with several at the same time. Thank you for thinking so highly of me. But I'm also afraid. He waved his hands and spread his hands and said, I can't deal with even one. Finished. His eyes fell on Shen Jian. He was still half convinced that Shen Jian seemed to have the strength to fear ghosts and gods. But now, he hoped it was true. The other side. Shen Jian's reaction was very calm. There was a hint of excitement in his eyes. Although these jailers are all physically disabled, as royal soldiers, they are among the best in terms of strength and overall performance. Catch him back and act as a secret agent to expand the territory of the underworld. Think of this. Shen Jian's tone was faint and he shouted, come out. Everyone looked confused. Who? Are there reinforcements still ambushed here? Soon. They'll know. That was really reinforcements. It's just that it's not a ghost or a player, but a supernatural creature. They are a large number of stone ghosts that emerge from the land. These stone ghosts are tall, 2 to 3 meters tall, and are made of rocks. They have a pair of red pupils and stare at the approaching guards without any sign of weakness. Then, a scene of what are you looking at? What are you looking at, reappears. The two parties fought together. See this scene. Players. Damn it. This is too awesome. How did you do it? Everyone's eyes widened and their hearts were shaken. They saw that Shen Jian just uttered a few words, and large numbers of stone ghosts appeared. There are more than jailers. The strength is even more overwhelming. This is too dreamy. So much so that they subconsciously rubbed their eyes, wondering if they were hallucinating. Otherwise this would all be too bizarre. A player just shouted a word and summoned a group of stone ghosts to fight for him. Is this really possible? Did you hire a separate special effects artist? Why did they give you a fantasy world movie special effect in the thriller game copy? You think you are the king of the undead? It's obviously not just the players who have this idea. The jailers also discovered this. Seeing more and more stone ghosts emerging from the ground, they were not only taller than them in size, but also had a level of terror higher than them. All the jailers' faces immediately turned green. When his face froze, the whole ghost felt bad. Why don't you be so heartless? If you do this, it will make our behavior just look too clownish. Flee back to find reinforcements. Think of this. The atmosphere at the scene suddenly became extremely anxious and dull. The thought of escaping flashed through the minds of all the jailers. At the same time, Shen Jian, who had used the power of the mountain spirit, looked at the hundreds of stone ghosts he had created with a satisfied smile on his face. He looked at the jailer who wanted to retreat. Think about it. The originally smiling face suddenly changed, and his brows knitted together, as if something had happened to him, but in just a moment, his expression returned to normal. However, this scene was still seen by some of the guards who were paying attention to Shen Jian. They looked stunned. Then something seemed to come to mind. The ferocious faces showed joy. Although this man disguised himself very well and returned to normal in just a moment, this detail would be the key to victory. Brothers, you have all seen it? When I saw it, I asked how could someone have such an outrageous supernatural power? It turned out to be a paper tiger. If I'm not mistaken, he should be exhausted. The flaw in these stone ghosts is him. Kill him and the stone ghosts will be ended. Hear this. More and more jailers looked excited. The originally low morale also took on a new look in an instant. Come on, let's stop these stone ghosts. My legs were crushed. Let me be a human shield and open a way for you to get to him. Brothers, it's up to you. Good brother, hold on. Kill this intruder and avenge your dead comrades. Suddenly, the morale of all the guards was high. They all stared at Shen Jian. A posture that would rather be broken than broken. Players. They were disheveled in the wind. Seeing the jailers united as one, seeing some using themselves as human shields to clear the way for their companions, seeing some desperately trying to stop the stone ghost, and wanting to let the successors get to Shen Jian. A scene of passion and tragedy. See here. Everyone looks strange. Ah, this. Why do you feel like they have become villains? But then I thought about it, they broke into the forbidden area guarded by others without permission, and started killing people when they disagreed. It seemed like, they were really villains. Not long after. Thanks to the successive efforts of the brothers, the remaining guards finally broke through the stone ghost's blockade and came to Shen Jian. Seeing Shen Jian, who was less than 10 meters away from them and without even a stone ghost guard around him, all the guards cried with joy and showed ferocious expressions. Not killing this man would not be enough to appease the brothers for their sacrifice. Brother, I'm here to avenge you. A jailer whose intestines were leaking all over the floor roared and rushed towards Shen Jian. They are very confident. Without the stone ghost's blockade, Shen Jian was just a paper tiger who was strong on the outside but weak on the inside. He thought he was pretending well, but little did he know that his abnormal condition had already been revealed to them. Now is the time to start the revenge fireworks. The other jailers saw this. Each and every one of them showed a relaxed expression as if the outcome was decided. Until the next second, a bright white arc hit the impending jailer accurately. Boom! Accompanied by a loud bang. The impending jailer was blown into pieces on the spot. This moment, the whole place fell silent. All the guards looked at this with bewildered expressions. Looking at the man they thought was a paper tiger, he was looking at them with a smile. He bent his 5 fingers, and a bright electric light flashed. Extremely miraculous. It is also this moment. The other jailers woke up one after another. Grass. You old cunt. Did you pretend to show us what you just did? Just to get us all together to fight you? Damn it. How can there be a dog like you in this world? You really deserve to die. All the guards looked at Shen Jian with eyes wide open. Then there was movement behind him. A large number of stone ghosts gathered around. Cut off their escape route. How long does it take to go from surrounding the enemy to being surrounded by the enemy? 5 minutes. Of course, a hanging man is also needed. If the opponent hadn't deliberately exposed such a flaw, how could they have chosen to charge with all their strength and fight to the death with the enemy? Looking at the shrinking encirclement, all the jailers showed expressions of despair. See it? Shen Jian smiled and said, "Don't give up, you still have to have dreams. If you don't give it a try, how will you know how strong you are? What if you rush up and kill me?" A group of jailers. Haha, if I kill you, there will be 9,999 left. You're a big liar, you just want to trick us into dying. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chigua. Chapter 518. Run. Before the stone ghosts encircle them, every one of them can escape. Get out, we can't fight this wave. Don't give up. As long as one of us can escape and send the news back to Ganquan Palace, everything will not be considered a failure. At this moment, all the jailers shouted. While gnashing his teeth, he spread out like a tide. They didn't want to see this old Yinbai who was gloating about his misfortune for a moment again. We are not afraid of the enemy's strength, but we are afraid of the enemy's culture. A set of small tricks. Play with these big guys at your fingertips. This feeling is so hummed up. Then they escaped. Spread in all directions to maximize your survival rate. In their opinion, even if Shen Jian had the power to reach heaven, he would not be able to surround them all at the same time. As long as one person escaped, Ganquan Palace would be within 5 kilometers nearby. Prince Li who lives in Ganquan Palace can be alarmed at any time. As soon as Prince Li wakes up, your majesty will soon know. By the time, the enemy's plan naturally failed. However, the idea is beautiful, but the reality is cruel. In all directions in the direction of their escape, more and more stone ghosts appeared, encroaching on the escape routes of all the jailers. For a while, a dense encirclement was formed. More than 300 stone ghosts created from rocks blocked all their escape routes. At that moment, all the guards were heartbroken. Damn it! Not only do you still have some strength left, but you don't even use your full strength. You are really a dog stepping on the horse, and you have gone too far in pretending to be a pig and eating the tiger. Others hide a trump card and show 9 points of strength. It's better for you to show off your strength and hide 90 humming trump cards behind your back. If I go to the gambling table with you, I'm afraid I'll have to pay even my underwear. The other side. Shen Jian watched the scene with a smile. The quality of this batch of yin difference is pretty good. It can be used as a candidate for the next city. Certainly. The prerequisite is to capture all these jailers. Think of this. Shen Jian bent his 5 fingers, and the dazzling golden beam struck dozens of guards accurately like the thunder of the 9 heavens. Le Fatagile, a small-scale sexual attack. It's perfect for cleaning up the current small scene. GGG, don't run. Within 7 steps, thunder is fast, and beyond 7 steps, thunder is fast and accurate. Said. Another group of unlucky ones fell down. See it? The remaining jailers were even more panicked. Haha, I would be stupid if I didn't run away at this time. If I still believe your evil deeds, won't I just lie here and go about my business? See, your own warning does not work. Shen Jian's face also darkened. Sighed. Today you are indifferent to me, but tomorrow I will make it impossible for you to reach high. If you hear the Tao in the morning, you will die in the evening. Shen Jian kept moving, instilling psychological chicken soup while personally teaching these guards how to communicate with others. All the jailers. God, Chao Wen said, you know the way to my house today, so you will come in the evening, right? They want to cry but have no tears. Please don't come here in vain, we are begging you. We are afraid. Shen Jian chuckled, don't be afraid, it's not dead, just take a sleep and you'll be fine. All the jailers were miserable. I can't get rid of it. I can't beat it. Is there anything more tragic than this in the world? As for the other party, it's just a call for life and heresy. Where the hell did you go to study? You learned a lot of things. How could you not freeze to death after 10 years of cold weather? At the same time, a group of players stood in the distance, watching Shen Jian chasing a large group of guards. The former had a weird smile on his face, and the laughter was oozing. The latter was howling like a ghost, hating his parents for not giving him an extra leg. The scene looked extremely out of control. At this time, the players were already horrified beyond measure. One by one, their eyes almost popped out, and their pupils shrank suddenly as they watched all this. Completely stunned. I'll be good. Is this the boss's world? Ghosts kill people, and people can naturally chase ghosts. Although it sounds wrong in logic, I did this bowl of chicken soup. False players, struggling to survive in the dungeon and holding on to their lives. Real players, start by taunting, and then you can perform to your heart's content. Awesome, I often don't fit in with the bosses because I'm not bold enough. Quickly take my Fang Tian Huaji and peel an apple for Yama. Under discussion. Shen Jian quickly settled the situation. All the jailers arranged by Emperor Qing to monitor Prince Li were arrested. Contribute to the expansion of the underworld. At this time, all the players also gathered around. He looked at Shen Jian like a god. His eyes were full of fire. The muscular man whose ID is Roger also has the same attitude. Before seeing Shen Jian's strength with his own eyes, he still couldn't believe that there were players who could touch the supernatural power of ghosts and gods. But this battle dispelled 99% of his doubts. He had just carefully counted them. The number of guards who surrounded him was around 300. A third of them are top red shirts. The majority of the remaining two-thirds are ghost kings, and there are also 2 hands of abyss class ones, and there is even one who is infinitely close to the top ghost king. Besides real ghosts and gods, who else can crush this lineup head on? Certainly. He still felt incredible inside. After all, how could a normal player be able to control a ghost-level puzzle? Under normal circumstances, the player will die a violent death at the moment of driving. Even if he succeeds by luck, the evil ghost will revive the moment he uses his supernatural powers. There is no other possibility. Because this is proven. In some unknown small circles, ghost masters often conduct experiments on humans. Among them, they have tried to let the bodies of Ghost King level ghosts be controlled by ordinary people. In the end, without exception, all died suddenly. Not to mention ordinary people, even the top ghost masters who control 3 powerful ghosts will find that one party is stronger than the other when they recontrol the puzzle of Ghost King level ghosts. In the end, one party's puzzle is too strong, resulting in supernatural imbalance. However, he now sees Shen Jian's tendency to control the ghost-level ghost puzzle. This is unbelievable. Think of this. The muscular man with the ID Roger touched Luo Quan and asked curiously, Yan Luo usually behaves like this in horror game copies. Have you ever seen him show such an ability? Luo Quan. He glanced at the other person. His eyes were dazed. He murmured, moreover, you haven't seen it yet. The true power is the power that makes life unable to resist at all. It is, the vastness that belongs to God. Hear this. Roger was shocked. Isn't this the limit? Damn it! Crushing 300 powerful ghosts who could destroy a country in the real world, in Luo Quan's eyes, was it not Shen Jian's full strength? How terrible would it be if he tried his best? The power of God. For a while, everyone at the scene had high morale and high fighting spirit because of Shen Jian's series of actions. With such a thick thigh, even in a 5-star dungeon, they saw the possibility of safe passage. The haze caused by the copy also dissipated a bit at this moment. No more guards. Ganquan Palace is like a beauty who will not refuse, letting others come in and out. Get into it? Shen Jian looked around. Ganquan Palace is very big. The size of a manor. If you waste time searching everywhere, you will only delay things. At this moment, you have to find a leader. Thinking. Shen Jian looked for the largest building and left. Seeing this, the others hurriedly followed. On the road, Luo Quan said curiously, "My lord, this Prince Li is the emperor's younger brother. Even if he is guilty, Yaoshan seems to have no right to deal with him. This is not like the home of our 7th grade official. He can fabricate facts at will, even if he passes the country. The Jade Seal and the Dragon Robe are placed there, and the emperor does not want to be blamed for killing his brother." Bai Shizhen also said, "Sir, I heard a rumor before that Prince Li returned to the capital because he committed a heinous crime and was escorted back." Bai Shizi thought about it for a while and said in surprise, "Now that I have said that, I also remembered that this matter had been gossiped about within Yaoshan. According to the news, it seemed to be related to the treason case of a 3rd-grade minister, but in the end it was not revealed. That's it, being locked up in Ganquan Palace seems like being banned, but it's actually a kind of protection. Everyone said something to me. Let's discuss." Finally, a conclusion was reached. Even if Prince Li committed a capital crime, as long as the emperor did not want him to die, the biggest punishment would be to be grounded and unable to come out for the rest of his life. No matter how big it is, it will be impossible. After listening, Shen Jian narrowed his eyes. It depends on people. We are only responsible for telling the truth to the public. As for the punishment, it must be left to the people of Qing State to pronounce the verdict. Also, remember your mission and spread this matter to me as much as possible." Hear this. Everyone was shocked. Because Shen Jian really planned to investigate Prince Li and send him to prison. This. What grudge? It is thankless to openly offend a royal family, and the resistance encountered is unimaginable. Otherwise, Shen Jian, a 4th-rank governor with a bright future who could even search the home of a 1st-rank Grand Duke, would have resorted to trespassing to enter the Ganquan Palace. If he only knew about the matter and reported it, there would be absolutely no chance. Is it possible to get approval? But the doubts of the 2 night-wandering gods, Bai Shizhen and Bai Shizitin, were different. At this time, the player had some enlightenment in his heart. Hidden mission? There is no unjust target in this world, let alone a group of players with no heed. The reason why Shen Jian can target Prince Li like this is that he must have activated some kind of hidden mission. Think of this. Everyone couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. In 1 month, sending a high-ranking prince and the emperor's brother to prison was a hidden mission that was beyond the standard. Can this be accomplished by humans? If it were any other player who inspired this mission, they would have gone crazy. After all, this look is impossible to complete. The difficulty has exceeded the scope of normal 5-star dungeons. Except for Shen Jian, other players cannot even know the information about this mission. But then I thought about it, except for Shen Jian, the rest of them didn't seem to have this opportunity to trigger the hidden mission. Really hammered. This horse riding is an exclusive task for the boss. And they are just witnesses and rumor spreaders. Thinking. Shen Jian stopped abruptly. Others looked puzzled. What's wrong? Shen Jian did not respond. He just turned around and stared at the shadows of a large group of people behind him. Under the sunlight, everyone's shadows were stretched thin and long, looking very normal. However, Shen Jian's eyes were dark and he asked a question that made everyone's hair stand on end. How many people were there when we arrived? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chigua. Chapter 519. When we arrived, how many people were there in total? Upon hearing Shen Jian's question, everyone's expressions changed drastically. In the supernatural world, any abnormality may be a sign before the evil ghost attacks, not to mention the disparity in the number of people. At this time, when Len Buting heard what Shen Jian said, no one dared to be careless. Luo Quan immediately started counting. Counted them one by one. The number is correct, 11 people. Yes, I counted 11 people. There are 7 of us here, plus 4 of you, there are exactly 11 people. What's wrong? What's wrong with this number of people? Don't scare me. Everyone counted and counted. In the end, we came to the same conclusion. Then, everyone's eyes fell on Shen Jian. Shen Jian glanced at it and said in a faint tone, I remember, there should be 10 people when they came. This is a conversation. Everyone in the audience was frightened, and their hearts trembled violently. 10 people? There were 10 of them when they came. What a joke. There are clearly 11 people here. Who is the extra one? This moment. Everyone was horrified and felt a chill running straight from the soles of their feet to the sky, and even their blood seemed to be solidified. They looked at each other. His eyes were full of horror and weariness. Unbeknownst to them, a strange existence sneaked in, but they did not notice anything unusual at all. If Shen Jian hadn't reminded them, wouldn't they never have discovered that there was a ghost among them following them every step of the way? Think of this. Everyone felt a chill. Observe the teammates around him again. Bai Shizhen and Bai 14 were the first to speak. Sir, in addition to our 4 night wanderers, there are a total of 7 remaining jailers, but we don't know them and cannot make a specific judgment. What? 4 night gods? Damn it, are you blind? Aren't there 5 night gods here? No, when did we get 7 jailers? There are obviously 6 of us in total. There is a problem on your side. The 2 sides immediately started arguing. Then, everyone reacted. His face turned pale. This ghost thing is distorting their cognition. From the player's perspective, they only came with 6 people, while there were 5 night travelers. However, in the eyes of the night travel god, there were 7 jailers. This extra 11th person, taking advantage of the information gap between them that they did not know each other, successfully distorted their perceptions, making them each think that what they saw was correct. This is too penetrating. It's simply hard to guard against. Then, everyone's eyes were focused on Shen Jian. There was a problem with their cognition, but Shen Jian didn't. The other party clearly pointed out that they were a team of 10 people. The other side. Shen Jian also watched all this with interest. This is not the first time he has seen a ghost that distorts cognition. Ghost paintings have the power to distort human memories and make them enter the ghost world inexplicably. Besides, the Queen of Evernight also has the power to distort her own memory and modify reality. In his impression, with such a supernatural ghost, The level of terror is not low. At least he is at the level of a top ghost king. Thinking. Shen Jian's eyes fell on the last figure in the team. It was a pure black shadow. It has no entity or facial features, but it imitates the movements of others and just looks at him quietly. Until Shen Jian cast his gaze. The black shadow turned into ink. Disappear completely. Shen Jian didn't stop him either. Just watching quietly, as if waiting for something. A few seconds later, Shen Jian ran in one direction. Everyone was left standing there looking bewildered. What do we do? Lang Shat, Yan Luo should be chasing that ghost. I was scared to death just now. This Ganquan Palace is really dangerous, but within a few minutes of entering, something else got in. Stop talking, my legs are weak. I have never been so reckless in a 5-star dungeon in my life. Today, I can brag for the rest of my life. The other side. Shen Jian's eyes flashed. A somewhat sinister smile appeared on his face. You want to escape after catching his eyes? The moment he entered Ganquan Palace, everything here belonged to him. He would slap anyone he caught, and any dog that was passing by would have to be slapped in his arms. Soon, Shen Jian chased the black shadow into a small courtyard. In the small courtyard, the black shadow ghost stopped and turned his head 180 degrees, with a sinister smile on his face. A strange sound sounded from the black shadow's body. Commander, I failed. This group of people sneaked into Ganquan Palace with evil intentions. I originally wanted to replace these people one by one, but I didn't expect to be discovered. The words fell. A dozen figures walked out of the small courtyard. The tall figure at the head, who was called the commander, was dressed like a commander of the Imperial Army. He held a pair of scissors in his hand and looked nondescript. His dark eyes stared at Shen Jian like a dead man. Trespassing into forbidden royal territory and disturbing the prince will be punished by death. Tell me who sent you, and I can revive you in 100 years. Shen Jian looked as usual. He said seriously, Your Majesty asked me to come. Commander Ghost? He was slightly startled. He didn't seem to react for a moment. No. I was just asking casually, why the hell did you really say that? Shouldn't it be something like this that would only be done by a dead soldier who breaks into the Emperor's villa without permission? You're a damn dead soldier, so lax with your mouth. This time, the commander will no longer be able to deal with it. I don't know how to answer the call either. It was the Black Shadow Ghost who took the lead and said, You're fart. With His Majesty's relationship with the prince, if you want to know something, just send someone over to inquire. There's no need to be secretive. Hear this. The Commander Ghost also reacted and said grimly, Do you think that just by mentioning His Majesty's name, you can frame him? Shen Jian innocently spread his hands and said casually, His Majesty really asked me to come. He said that if he had known that Prince Li would do such a thing, he should have rushed into his father's bedroom and asked him to throw his descendants against the wall. Superior. Leader Ghost. Black Shadow Ghost. Group of Ghosts. Grass. What are you saying that is treasonous? If you really want to die, don't get involved with us. The ghosts choked for a while. He looked at Shen Jian with a strange look. It doesn't matter if you don't want to say it. We will get the answer from your memory. Seeing that Shen Jian was lying like this, Commander Gui didn't want to be nagging. He opened the scissors and said sadly. A grimace showed a crazy smile, and the dark pupils made him look very penetrating. Have you ever heard the sound of your body breaking apart? Said. The leader ghost is holding the scissors. With a crazy look, he cut it towards Shen Jian. Commander, please pay attention, the supernatural has affected us. Don't, I don't want to replenish my body anymore. Hey, You'll be fine once you get used to it. It'll feel a little pleasurable if you keep going on and off. Shen Jian hasn't responded yet. The fierce ghost standing on the leader's body was the first to start wailing. Then, without warning, these ghosts felt strange pain in their waists and abdomens. It seemed as if it was torn apart by some strange force. Immediately afterwards, the group of ghosts were cut off at the waist, and their blood flowed all over the ground. All of them stared at Shen Jian with dead eyes. That expression seemed to say, "You are a bitch, you have caused us to suffer, and you will die too." But the next second, the eyes of these fierce ghosts who were cut off at the waist widened, with doubts on their faces. Why wasn't this man cut off like them? You must know that the commander's scissors can even cut through supernatural beings. It is said that it was once the legacy of a ghost and god. Even the commander who is infinitely close to ghosts and gods cannot completely master it. Every time the ghost scissors are used, everything around them will be cut off. In layman's terms, it is an indiscriminate attack. However, this intruder did not have any wounds on his body. How can this be? Ghost scissors have no effect on him. The other side. The leader's eyes also widened, and he couldn't believe what he was seeing. He looked gloomy and cut again. Invalid? Invalid? Still invalid? No matter how he used the ghost scissors, he could not have any impact on the intruder in front of him. You ghost scissors are destined to me, Shen Jian said with great interest. I find I'm better suited to use it than you are. Commander Ghost? Damn it. If you want to grab it, just say so. What a fate. You do not believe. He. Then let you see. Said. Shen Jian made a scissor motion with his two fingers. Then, put two fingers together. Just when everyone was confused. Next moment, the group of ghosts saw a very frightening scene. I saw that the leader ghost holding the ghost scissors had a lot of dense marks on his body, like lines drawn when cutting paper, waiting to be cut out. Immediately afterwards, the leader's ghost's body collapsed in full view of everyone. Broken into pieces. Black Shadow Ghost. Watch this scene. He was stunned. The whole ghost was completely frightened. His mouth opened wide, but he couldn't speak. He was so scared that he lost his voice. Damn it! Cruel. Why am I such a big leader? Why did he turn into a piece of humming flesh in the blink of an eye? What just happened? The shadow ghost recalled in horror. When the intruder raised his hands to make a scissor gesture, he seemed to see a flash of golden light. Like a laser net, skipping the leader. But because the light was so bright and the speed was so fast, he just thought he was seeing an illusion. But now, this is not an illusion. Thinking. Shen Jian grinned. His eyes fell on the black shadow ghost. Take big strides and approach step by step. The sinister laughter resounded throughout the entire courtyard. Brother, have you seen my shadow? My shadow seems to be gone. Black Shadow Ghost. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chigua. Chapter 520. Little brother, have you seen my shadow? My shadow is missing. Can you help me look for it? Shen Jian smiled sadly. Heavy footsteps made a dull sound on the solid floor. He approached step by step, leaving red footprints one after another in the flowing ghost blood. Such a scene. Horrifying to the extreme. The hair on the black shadow ghost's body stood on end, and he was so frightened that he couldn't control his expression. The eyes looking at Shen Jian were full of fear. This intruder is humming terrifying. The leader holding ghost scissors can cut off part of the supernatural even when facing ghosts and gods. However, facing this strange man, the supernatural has no effect at all. More importantly, the opponent just casually made a scissor gesture, and the leader fell into pieces and turned into a pile of meat. Such a strange and penetrating supernatural being was beyond his comprehension. Think of this. The Black Shadow Ghost wanted to escape immediately. It doesn't matter where you run away, as long as you can get away from this man. However, just when he turned around and wanted to run, he suddenly discovered something that made his hair stand on end. My perspective seems to be elevated. He could clearly observe his body from an overhead perspective. The body was dark, with no obvious facial features or organs, and the area around the neck was empty. It seems like something is missing. Where is my head? It was just the first thought in Black Shadow Ghost's mind. Next moment, his eyes suddenly widened. Damn it! Did I have my neck wiped? Thinking, the Black Shadow Ghost's head was thrown high and fell heavily to the ground. Behind, Shen Jian's voice sounded faintly, so this is not my shadow. If it is my shadow, it will not escape. Black Shadow Ghost. His grimace turned purple. I'm crazy. Are you blind? Even if you are looking for your own shadow, why are you riding on a horse and wiping my neck? Have you ever seen anyone whose shadow has an independent consciousness and can still speak? Your reason for me is untenable. It's so unjust. Think of this. The Shadow Ghost whined. His strong desire to survive made him abandon his dignity. I chose to settle down. Master, I am your shadow. The Black Shadow Ghost jumped back to his body, licking his lips and showing a forced smile. He warned himself in his heart, this is just a temporary expedient. He is not really surrendering, he is just temporarily stabilizing the opponent. Wrong. Shen Jian stared at it twice and denied it. The Black Shadow Ghost was about to cry, Master, what's wrong with this? I am the shadow. You're too ugly. Black Shadow Ghost. Damn, that's too much. Don't slap people in the face when you hit them, don't curse people in the face when you curse. You will be beaten if you do this. And I don't even have any facial features, my whole body is black, you can see the beauty and ugliness of this ghost. But the situation is stronger than the people. People under the eaves have to bow their heads. He tried hard to make himself look darker, so that even his limbs couldn't be seen clearly. From a distance, they looked like a completely natural black pigment. It's still wrong. Shen Jian shook his head, it doesn't mean that you are a shadow because you are dark. As my shadow, shouldn't you stick to the wall or the ground and make the same movements as people? Look at you, how can you half like a shadow? Shen Jian murmured. He looked like he couldn't see anything. Forget it, let me help you, said. Shen Jian stepped forward, grabbed the Black Shadow Ghost, and pushed him to the ground violently. Play with his limbs to make his movements look more in line with the image of a shadow. Black Shadow Ghost? Too much. Ghosts also have dignity. But when he met Shen Jian's faint eyes, he who originally wanted to retain the last bit of dignity suddenly felt that it was time to sell off the dignity he had retained for so many years. I just don't know how much I can sell it for. Just thinking about it? Shen Jian has also reached the last step. After arranging the Black Shadow Ghost, he took out a black steel rod from his body. Master, what are you doing? The Shadow Ghost was frightened. He shouted quickly. Dignity, how much is dignity worth? I suddenly realized that no matter how much I fiddle with it, you can't stick to the ground. But I have a way. I can smash you into a flat shadow with a stick. Black Shadow Ghost. Grass. Your idea is dangerous. Stop this thought that will kill people immediately. This moment. The Shadow Ghost completely surrendered. Master, I am your most loyal shadow number 2. I can help you find out information. Hear this. Shen Jian paused and let go of the Shadow Ghost. Seeing that he had escaped death, The black shadow ghost also showed a hint of resentment. There is no longer any thought in my heart that I am obedient and obedient. The look he looked at Shen Jian was like looking at a devil. To this, Shen Jian didn't care. He picked up the ghost scissors on the ground and asked, "Where is Prince Li?" Confusion flashed across the face of the black shadow ghost, but he still said quickly, "The prince lives in the auxiliary hall next to the Yangzin hall. Master, if you want to kill him, now is the best time," said. He made a gesture of wiping his neck. His idea is simple. As long as the previous master dies, it seems reasonable for him to seamlessly transition to the next master. Shen Jian glanced at the other person with a strange look on his face. "You are so cruel, how can you take people's lives just by opening your mouth or not?" Black Shadow Ghost. His eyes widened. The back molars are almost broken. So angry. This bitch actually dared to knock him down. Which one of us is more cruel? Don't you have a clue in your mind? Even if you don't have one, you might as well take a look at the underground masterpieces. How can you say that someone is cruel without a blushing face or a beating heart? He couldn't help but said, "Master, didn't you sneak in secretly to assassinate Prince Li?" In the eyes of the Black Shadow Ghost, Shen Jian sneaked in secretly with the sole purpose of assassination. Apart from this, there is no other motive for sneaking into Ganquan Palace. Of course not. Shen Jian's eyes were strange. Now if Prince Li is killed, he will be a rebel leader. But if Prince Li's deeds were made public and beheaded in front of the people of Qing, then he would be a hero. He is a hero respected by all people and not afraid of power. His reputation will reach its peak. He wanted to know how many dragons this move could attract. If the effect is impressive, he doesn't mind doing it a few more times. Think of this. Shen Jian's eyes flashed. He just felt that the light of righteousness was shining on him. He said casually, "I am the night wandering god. I received a report from the masses that Prince Li is suspected of a major case of collaborating with the enemy and treason. I came here specifically to arrest him for interrogation today." Hear the words. The shadow ghost was confused. He looked at Shen Jian in disbelief. His eyes seemed to say, "Are you crazy? Take him back for trial? I'm afraid that within the next day, the other party will be released, and you will die without a burial place." After considering the meaning, the Black Shadow Ghost hesitated and said, "Master, I am Prince Li's confidant. Although I was not involved in everything he did, I know that this matter is indeed true. Prince Li has been spreading information about Daking, and his information indirectly led to the fall of a city and the death of hundreds of thousands of people. This incident caused a lot of noise. Everyone thought that Prince Li was dead. All edicts and prison sentences are light. However, His Majesty made a decision that shocked the government and the public. He banned Prince Li and ordered him not to step out of Ganquan Palace. On the surface, this seems to be punishment, but in fact it is to protect Prince Li. If you kill him now, sir, maybe justice can still be served, but take it back." The Black Shadow Ghost's words stopped abruptly. But any fool can understand the meaning behind it. Once Prince Li is taken out and brought to prison for trial, the only result will be that His Majesty personally intervenes and acquits him. Other than that, there is no second possibility. To this, Shen Jian became even more excited. The bigger the storm, the harder his reputation will be damaged. No hesitation. Shen Jian stood up, looked down at the Black Shadow Ghost, patted his shoulder, and said seriously, "Times have changed. If you commit a crime, you should leave it to the people of Qing to judge." Black Shadow Ghost. Never mind. As long as you are happy. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 521. The Hall of Nourishing Heart. The place where Prince Li is. When Haiyagui, the second fifth son, brought Shen Jian here. He was already mentally prepared to abandon his old master and kneel down to lick the new one. Looking at Shen Jian, who was about to make a move, the black shadow ghost looked troubled, hesitated for a moment, and then said slowly, "Master, why do you insist on pursuing this matter? That is Prince Li, the emperor's younger brother, and a member of the Qing kingdom's royal family. There are few in the entire Qing kingdom who can surpass him in status. It is not wise for you to fight against him." Apparently, when it came time to meet his old master, Black Shadow Ghost was still a little timid. After all, this is an action in which there is no benefit if you win, and you will never recover if you lose. Any reasonable person should know that this matter cannot be investigated further. However, the man in front of him seemed to be very concerned about this matter, and he was determined not to give up until Prince Li was brought to justice. It was hard for him to imagine what kind of driving force it would take to make the other party go against Qingguo at the risk of being resented by Emperor Qing. Shen Jian glanced at him. While walking, he said casually, "Xiao He, people must do more good deeds, accumulate virtue and do good deeds, and have the sun shine brightly, only then will there be blessings." Black Shadow Ghost. His facial muscles twitched slightly. "Some are not tight. God is so virtuous and good. Look at the good things you just did. Is there any of them that can be related to virtue? If it were another person, I would probably believe it. Your blessing is really bloody." Inner confusion. Shen Jian had already opened the door and stepped inside. He glanced around and soon saw the real owner. He was an aristocratic middle-aged uncle with disheveled hair and a haggard face. His dark eye sockets were deeply sunken. It seemed that he had not had a sound sleep for several days. His skin was as white as a vampire and could not be seen any trace of blood. Standing next to her was a stern woman who looked like a housekeeper. Her malicious eyes seemed to turn into the most vicious curse in the world, making people afraid to look directly at her. Detected an intruder. Prince Li slowly raised his head. The sunken eyes first glanced at the Black Shadow Ghost, and then fell on Shen Jian. "I just noticed something happening outside. Now it seems that not only did we lose, we were also instigated to rebel," Prince Li said in a calm voice. "Hear this." The Black Shadow Ghost of the second and fifth generation immediately lowered his head with guilt, but then he thought, why are he being cowardly? I have welcomed my new owner. Think of this. The Black Shadow Ghost opened his eyes with no obvious facial features, straightened his chest, and stared back unwilling to be outdone. "Prince Li. I must let this young man know the consequences of betraying him later." Prince Li looked at Shen Jian again, his voice was hoarse, and he said to himself, "Who sent you? Emperor brother? This is impossible, eldest nephew. He doesn't have the courage, eldest niece? She has done some secret investigation something, but she can't protect herself now, so she shouldn't have the energy to meddle in other things. Other than these three, I really can't imagine anyone else in Qingguo who can control a ghost like you." His words were filled with a certain sense of certainty. The tone was condescending. He seemed to have no doubt about his guess. "Forget it, these are not important anyway. You stop now. I can ignore the things you have done and let you join me. Otherwise, if you are charged with trespassing in Ganquan Palace, you will have no foothold in Qingguo land." Shen Jian's eyes lit up. "Really? Of course, I am still a bit thin-faced in the court. For things like breaking into Ganquan Palace without permission, the crime can be big or small, it all depends on whether you can be used by me. Then you can settle the issue of me killing the guards outside Ganquan Palace." As soon as these words came out, the scene fell into dead silence. Prince Li, the housekeeper, and even the Black Shadow Ghost all looked at Shen Jian as if they had seen a ghost. "Am I crazy? What did you just say? Do you have the ability to say it again? Kill the jailer guarding Ganquan Palace?" Prince Li's expression became very exciting. Are you talking about killing a few casually? No, kill them all, otherwise how would I have gotten in? Shen Jian said matter-of-factly. Prince Li. He was confused. Kill them all, kill them all? Damn it! Do you know what you have done? I can't think about it, so I want to drag everyone to death, right? I advise you to give up this idea. If you want your family tree to ascend to heaven, that's your business. Prince Li could not come back to his senses for a long time. Looking at Shen Jian was like looking at a madman. The crime of breaking into Ganquan Palace without permission can be serious or minor. As long as it is not discovered, it can be treated as nothing happened. But this intruder humming killed the guards outside Ganquan Palace. What's this? This is a provocation to Qing state and Emperor Qing. It needs to be washed with blood. Under this situation, if he insists on going his own way and protecting Shen Jian to the death, not only will Shen Jian be in trouble, but he may also be transferred from Ganquan Palace to prison in his next life. Think of this. Prince Li's eyes suddenly turned cold. There is no intention to win over anymore. You are looking for death, then I will help you. The words fell. He took out a small bottle, which contained a drop of black-red shiny liquid. It was the blood of a ghost and god. If you take it, you can temporarily gain the power to resist ghosts and gods. Prince Li drank it all in one gulp. Black and red lines immediately spread all over his face, extending into the sunken eye sockets. Suddenly, a terrifying supernatural oppression swept across the entire place. The monstrous yin qi surged out, like a volcano erupting, and the momentum reached the extreme. The black shadow ghost stood in the distance, watching helplessly as his old master swallowed the blood of ghosts and gods. His body was so terrifying that he had reached the level of ghosts and gods. Even though he was already the top ghost king, he still felt frightened from the bottom of his heart under the supernatural threat of ghosts and gods. I just felt like disaster was coming. I had the urge to run away on the spot. He looked at Shen Jian, then looked slightly stunned. Shen Jian's face was full of excitement and there was no other emotion at all. No. After all, this is a ghost and god of the same level as you. You should at least express your nervousness and solemn mood. What is the psychology of excitement? Confused. Prince Li's level of terror has completely reached that of ghosts and gods. And it is far more terrifying than ordinary ghosts and gods. Because the blood of ghosts and gods he took came from the previous Qing emperor, his father. The effect of the blood of ghosts and gods is maximized under the influence of blood. At this time, Prince Li stared straight at Shen Jian, his sinister smile echoed throughout the audience. He, you are honored to see me in his heyday. You know, there is also a strength gap between ghosts and gods. Unfortunately, the blood of ghosts and gods from our Daking royal family is the most powerful existence. The words have not yet finished. Boom. A bright purple plasma rubbed Prince Li's face, penetrated the Yangzin hall behind him, and created a huge crack of more than 10 meters. Prince Li. He was a little confused. Subconsciously he touched the missing half of his face, and then looked at the ruined building behind him. The whole ghost was frightened. If the blow just now hadn't grazed his face, he would have died completely. Grass. You are also a ghost and god. How the hell do you have this kind of ability? It's noisy. Are the ghosts and gods of the Daking royal family said to be the strongest beings? If you are acting like this now, you are not slapping me in the face. This moment, the scene fell into silence. Prince Li, who originally had a ferocious smile on his face, now turned green. A grimace became extremely stiff. The look he looked at Shen Jian was full of horror. The other side. Shen Jian kept his fingers flexed and looked at it with a smile. Go on, I'd love to know how horrible you were in your heyday. Prince Li. His face was stiff. I was in a panic inside. Does he dare to move? He didn't dare to move. That bitch was pointing his finger at him, and on his palm, thick purple electric arcs floated like snakes. He saw it clearly just now. This man just curled his 5 fingers, and an attack that was enough to kill him was launched instantly. How could he dare to move under such circumstances? Who knows, if he moves, the other party will attack again like this and make him die on the spot. Think of this. Prince Li felt intense humiliation. He was the dignified Prince of Daking, but at this moment, he was so frightened by the intruder's finger movements that he did not dare to move at all. Or after taking the blood of ghosts and gods, and briefly gaining the strength to compete with ghosts and gods. He couldn't believe it. But the instinctive horror in his body clearly told him that this was true. Even though he didn't want to admit it, he really couldn't defeat this intruder. He is not even qualified to fight against the other party. Then, amidst the uncertainty, Prince Li restrained his breath and lowered his high head. His voice was hoarse. You won, but I didn't lose either. Unless you kill me now, none of your plans will succeed. Shen Jian grinned. Kill you? What a waste. I am a night-wandering god who follows the formal procedures. I received a report from the masses that you were suspected of treason, which indirectly led to the massacre of a city in Qingguo. I asked you to come back with me to be investigated. As soon as these words came out, Prince Li? He was stunned. What? He never thought that Shen Jian's purpose of breaking into Ganquan Palace would be this. Damn it! You should have told me so damn long ago. You said earlier that you wanted me to go back for investigation, but I left with you without saying anything. Why bother? He couldn't hold himself any longer and said subconsciously, that's it? Just such a small thing? Then you should have said it earlier. Didn't I say that? What are you talking about? Prince Li looked at Shen Jian with a strange expression. For a moment, he was unsure of Shen Jian's intentions. But the other party's terror level was higher than his, so it was easy to kill him, and there was no need to deceive him. Then, he gave up resistance completely. A strange smile flashed on a ghostly face. It's good to do things according to procedures. He likes formal procedures best. Because this means that nothing will happen to him at all. Catch me and take me back. I am willing to accept any punishment. Prince Li's expression was teasing. However, he saw that the purple arc in Shen Jian's hand did not retract, but just walked towards him with a strange smile on his face. The malice on his face was not hidden at all. Huh? Aren't you following the formal procedures? What are you doing now? See it? Prince Li showed a frightened look in his eyes. It doesn't seem like he wants to take him back. In view of your attempt to attack the night traveler just now, you have been listed as a major dangerous suspect. In order to ensure the safety of the people, I must make you non-threatening. Shen Jian said with full of malice. Then, he raised his iron fist filled with purple plasma. No, I am a member of the royal family, how dare you? Do you know that you are breaking the law by riding a horse? I am just a suspect, not a criminal, and cannot be abused. Ah. Zitsize. 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 It's too awful. Seeing the scene of electrotherapy, the black shadow ghost couldn't bear to look at it. At the same time, he was also rejoicing in his heart. He was glad that he was a stranger, otherwise this electrotherapy would have fallen on him. He looked pitiful. I just hope the old owner is okay. Soon. After receiving electrotherapy, Prince Li became completely honest. The resentment in his eyes has been put away, and he will only show it when no one is paying attention. He knew that he was now a piece of meat at the mercy of others, and any behavior that jumped would only increase his pain. However, this situation is only temporary. As long as Shen Jian dares to take him out of Ganquan Palace, he will be finished. Are you honest? Do you still have the urge to hit someone? Shen Jian looked concerned. Prince Li. He was so angry that his teeth started to itch. You bastard, I'll tolerate you for a few days, and then I'll pay you back twice as much. Think of this. He shook his head. Express your willingness to cooperate. See this. Shen Jian narrowed his eyes. He took out the parchment from his body. It is a paranoid supernatural thing. Just let the designated person speak, and the parchment will record everything and generate memory fragments related to the text. See this. Prince Li's eyes flashed. He knew that this was incriminating evidence. Once he says it, the crime is confirmed. Even if you want to overturn the case, you can't. But is he afraid? What he did was not only known to everyone in the court, but which minister of first rank or above didn't know about it? But what was the result? He was just grounded. And an unlucky third-grade servant became the scapegoat. Even if Shen Jian submits this evidence, it is destined to be lost. Then he didn't hide anything and told the evidence of his crime sentence by sentence. The Black Shadow Ghost listened with fear. Even he didn't know the other parts of such bloody evidence. If it were anyone else, even a first-class Grand Duke, not to mention committing so many crimes, just intercepting one or two of them would be enough to be irreversible. However, Prince Li is still living well. One can imagine. This matter is destined to be fruitless. The Black Shadow Ghost looked at Shen Jian suspiciously. He didn't believe that Shen Jian didn't understand this. If that was the case, why did he bother? Not long after, the parchment was already filled with dense writing. A satisfied smile appeared on Shen Jian's face. He grabbed Prince Li and walked out. I figured out the direction. His figure disappears and suddenly appears in front of the player. Your mission is here, spread this news throughout the Qingguo capital. Shen Jian copied several pieces of the information in his hand and handed it over to various players. Seeing this, the player's expression changed drastically. Did he do this alone? He must have written this Qingguo law, otherwise how could he still be safe and sound? Everyone's eyes fell on Prince Li, and his face turned pale. Because if the information above is true, this prince will be cut into pieces without mercy. If it were placed in the real world, he would have been sentenced to death long ago. Prince Li also saw this scene. The disdain in his eyes almost spilled out of his body. It turned out that I had this idea, but it's a pity. The emperor has the final say in the Qing kingdom, not a group of common people. No matter how angry the civilians are, they can't burn his side. He won this round. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Bulletin Chi Gua. Chapter 522. This day. The news spread like wildfire. There are similar rumors one after another. The theme is very obvious: the emperor's brother, Prince Li of Daking, colluded with foreign enemies and betrayed Qing's intelligence for his own personal gain, resulting in the death of hundreds of thousands of people in a city. Gulan, restaurants, vegetable markets, streets, and alleys. In these places where a large number of civilians gathered, the news was like a spark, igniting the entire capital in an instant. The whole city was boiling. What? Is the news true? Oh my God, this is such a huge scandal. The Daking royal family betrayed their own intelligence, causing hundreds of thousands of innocent ghosts to die. This matter, is it true? I remember that the court has already determined this matter, saying that it was the third-grade minister who did it. Why did he become Prince Li again? Well, it goes without saying that he is being treated as a scapegoat. Think about it, how can a third-grade minister of the Ministry of Revenue know so much specific information about daking? But if it were a prince, it would make sense. No way, Your Majesty is planning to protect his younger brother? For this reason, he would not hesitate to let hundreds of thousands of innocent people die unjustly. Voices of indignation arose one after another. The ghosts' hearts were filled with coldness and coldness. It was a city with hundreds of thousands of ghosts, but now they were fooled so easily, and they even tried to use scapegoats to divert the attention of the people and save the murderer. Such behavior chills many people's hearts. Today, the Emperor of Daking can give up pursuing responsibility for a younger brother. Tomorrow, the Emperor of Daking would dare to abandon them because of other interests. If things continue like this, who will dare to be a citizen of the Qing kingdom? However, where there are voices of indignation, there are voices of opposition. False, this matter has been determined. If you don't believe the court's decision, do you want to believe a rumor? Yes, not to mention the authenticity of this rumor, the other party undoubtedly has ulterior motives for deliberately breaking out this kind of thing at this time. We cannot be led by the nose. Yes, I believe in the imperial court, I believe in Your Majesty, and I believe that the Qing Congress will give us a satisfactory reply, so as not to fall into the tricks of those with ulterior motives. Opposition was equally loud. It left many people shaken. Don't know which side to believe. At this time, an inappropriate voice sounded. Go to the vegetable market quickly. Someone has posted evidence of Prince Li's crime over there. As soon as these words came out, a group of ghosts heard the wind and rose up. Only a figure was left, taking off the evil ghost mask on his face. He revealed a face with heavy dark circles under his eyes, looking like he was about to die soon. It was none other than Shen Jian's number one tool man, Luo Quan. Following Shen Jian's instructions, he began to post notices in the streets and alleys of the Qingguo capital, and systematically guide the public to expose the truth step by step. Until discover everything Prince Li has done. Detonate a minefield. Think of this. Luo Quan wiped the non-existent cold sweat on his face. This thunderstorm was a bit violent. If it goes wrong, Qing's credibility will decline, it will become alienated from the people, and it may even trigger large-scale riots. Yan Luo wants to use his own efforts to stir up trouble in the Qing kingdom. This does not mean that he wants to complete the hidden mission. This is clearly an attempt to subvert Qingguo's posture. He has some doubts. Is the hidden mission triggered by Yan Luo really related to Prince Li? Why does he feel that this hidden mission is to ask Yama to overthrow the Qing kingdom? A boss is a boss, and he dares to take on such tasks. If it were him, it would be too late to stay away. Luo Quan's eyes were full of emotion. Continue to the next restaurant and spread rumors. This is the task not just for him, but for all players. To this end, Shen Jian also specially made these players become servants of the night travel god. Although they are no different from jailers in terms of status, the gold content of the two is not at the same level. This can be regarded as the reward given by Shen Jian to the players. Just waiting like this. Shen Jian returned to prison. Class A cell number 1. Her Royal Highness the Princess of Daking looked at Shen Jian seriously. So this is your plan? To incite the people, let these people put pressure on the court, and then execute Prince Li. Shen Jian was non-committal and just asked, is there any problem? The problem is huge. Princess Milan shook her head. If this method was effective, Prince Li would not have just been banned in the court. The core of this matter lies in His Majesty. As long as Your Majesty does not let go, no one can execute him. I am familiar with history, and I naturally understand the terribleness of the people's hearts. In any country, your strategy has the possibility of success, but this is the Qing kingdom, and His Majesty is a world-destroying ghost and god. If he is willing, he can even destroy half of the Qing kingdom by himself. Under such a world-destroying horror, the importance of people's hearts has been reduced exponentially. People's hearts cannot hold His Majesty, do you understand? Speaking of which, Princess Milan looked at Shen Jian with complicated eyes. Your Majesty is currently in seclusion. The prince is in charge of the country. No one has the power to touch him. You can do nothing but lock him in prison. He will be taken away in a few days. Once he is out of your control, Prince Li is actually free. Shen Jian nodded. The meaning of the eldest princess is obvious. His work was in vain. He could not execute Prince Li by relying on the support of the people. Instead, he would be resented and would be unable to move forward. Even. Just leave the prison and the other person will be free. To this, the smile on Shen Jian's face grew stronger. He did not pursue the subject. Instead, he asked, Your Highness, you have seen the evidence of Prince Li's crime, especially when it comes to betraying his own country's intelligence. No emperor can tolerate this kind of thing. Why did Emperor Qing insist on protecting him with his life? Is it just because of his brothers and sisters? Christine. This is the biggest doubt. A sinner who betrayed his country's intelligence and caused the death of hundreds of thousands of people in a city, even if he was a member of the royal family and the emperor's brother, should be sent to the execution stand. But Emperor Qing did the opposite. There must be a big secret in this. Princess Milan sighed, I don't know, no one can understand his thoughts. Ever since he was promoted to the world-destroying level of ghosts and gods, King Guo seems to have exhausted the last trace of national destiny, and the overall national power has dropped again and again. From prosperity to decline, I presented many improvement plans, but they all came to nothing. If this continues, the Qing kingdom will be destroyed sooner or later in less than 100 years. Shen Jian was thoughtful. It seems that the emperor of Qing kingdom also has many secrets that can be explored deeply. Forget it, this matter has nothing to do with me, but you, prepare to take refuge. I have a secret guard under my command, which is full of people who cannot gain a foothold in Qingguo and need to disappear like you. It's just right for you to disappear now, you can avoid the turmoil that follows. Princess Milan said seriously. The moment the plan failed, Shen Jian was no longer able to gain a foothold in Qingguo. Once he appears, he will be greeted with heavy revenge. If he waits until His Majesty's retreat ends, the only thing waiting for Shen Jian is death. Although she felt a little regretful, the only way to save Shen Jian at the moment was to turn from the bright side to the dark side. Become a shadowy secret guard. Who said my plan failed? Shen Jian's eyes were strange. His plan is different from what the other party thought. The execution of Prince Li was only an incidental result. What he really wanted was to win the hearts and minds of the people by beheading Prince Li against the imperial court against all odds. The greater the resistance, the greater the public support he will be able to win. Princess Milan was also stunned. How rare are you planning to lock him up here for the rest of his life? Of course not. Then it's over. An imperial edict has been issued. Unless you disobey, you won't be able to keep him. And I believe you know the consequences of disobeying. Don't even think about disobeying the imperial edict. We are the prince overseeing the country now. Things are far from disturbing His Majesty. But if you resist the edict, the imperial court will have the motive to kill you. If you fail, it will be disturbing to His Majesty. When the time comes, everything will stop. Hear this. Shen Jian did not respond. He just stared at Princess Milan with burning eyes. You, what are you doing? Being stared at by such eyes, Her Royal Highness the Princess, who was used to being stared at, felt a little shy at this moment. Your Highness, are you worried about me now? Shen Jian's eyes moved. The arrival of the eldest princess of Daking. Current status, worry, shy. Favorability, 61, ambiguous. See this. Shen Jian's eyes were strange. As he spoke, he came closer. Soon the default safe distance between men and women was invaded. The distance between the two is less than 10 centimeters. This kind of distance is already an area that only close people can get close to. Between breaths, you can already feel the other person's temperature. Princess MaleProtagonist's expression became a little strange, her eyes evaded, and she reached out to push Shen Jian away. Shen Jian grabbed it. Hold it with one delicate hand. Feeling the slippery snow on his palms, the strange color in Shen Jian's eyes deepened. But it was only less than 3 seconds. Princess MaleProtagonist broke away, her pretty face was slightly pink, and she rolled her eyes at Shen Jian. You are very brave now. Even I, the eldest princess of the court, dare to be frivolous. Are you not afraid that I will punish you now? I believe His Highness will not. Shen Jian's eyes were deep and his expression was serious. Humph, you should go and tell your little beauty these words. I am not her. She needs to rely on men. The eldest princess's heart trembled slightly, but she still kept a straight face and spat. Shen Jian was slightly startled. Problem occurs? Her Royal Highness the Princess should be referring to the Vice Minister's wife. Thinking. Princess MaleProtagonist's expression has returned to normal, and she said coldly, you'd better go and see her. It's because of her that you were involved in this case, but now, I feel worthless for her, and I feel worthless for you. Hear this. Shen Jian frowned slightly. But he didn't say much, he just nodded and turned to leave. Seeing Shen Jian's leaving figure, Princess MaleProtagonist curled her lips and wrote desire on the paper. After thinking about it, she added will do bad things after it. Cell number 6. Shen Jian opened the door. A soft and delicate body pressed up against her. In an instant, Shen Jian felt his meticulous consideration. What happened? Shen Jian was a little curious. Although the wife of the assistant minister had some strange feelings for him due to his daily work, Shen Jian knew that they were all destroyed by love. The waiter's wife's mentality towards him was based on this. But after all, the other party loves her husband deeply, so his current behavior is a bit abnormal. The waiter's wife said nothing. He just hugged Shen Jian silently, as if looking for someone to rely on. Until a long time. Only then did he gradually loosen up. It can be seen that her eyes are a little red and swollen, and she seems to have been crying for a long time. The whole person looks more delicate, like an easily broken stamen. Think about it. Shen Jian used the ghost domain to learn about the situation from the mountain god. Mountain god, what happened in the class cell these days? Nothing big happened, except for the fact that you captured an abyss-level ghost and sent it to the class cell. The person seemed to know the person in cell number 6, so they talked for a while, and then the woman in cell number 6 rushed out like crazy and rushed to the cell. The other party launched an attack. Shen Jian was startled. The abyss-level ghost caught a few days ago must be the 7th grade Yuan Wei Lang. The other party did know the waiter's wife, and the relationship was between sister-in-law and brother-in-law. What did they say? Swearing, the Yuan Wei Lang pointed at the woman in cell number 6 and sneered, saying that her husband didn't really love her, but just fell in love with her father's power and status, so he premeditated the chance encounter, and also said that her husband has another woman outside and is being raised in a mansion in the suburbs, but she foolishly thinks that she is the only one. After listening, Shen Jian's eyes were strange. But then I thought about it, and it seemed like it was an opportunity. Think about it. Shen Jian looked at the lovely wife of the minister and said, Madam, do you want to see your husband? Hear this. The waiter's wife raised her head in surprise and said softly, Is that okay? I am still a prisoner, and he is a death row prisoner. There is no possibility of us meeting. I can take you there. Shen Jian's eyes were strange. The Yuan Weilang obviously knew more about the deeds of the third-grade minister, especially after being imprisoned, so there was no need to lie. In other words, there is a gap between this loving couple. He just needs to take the vice minister's wife to verify it and let her confirm the authenticity of the news. Then, I just don't know if there is a chance to do it in person. Think of this. Shen Jian felt a little agitated in his heart. Full of motivation. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 523. Death Row. The place where death row prisoners are imprisoned in the capital of Daking. It is only a few kilometers away from the location of Jinglao, almost separated from it by the sky. Coming out of cell number 6, Shen Jian took the vice minister's wife to the dark death cell for the purpose of interrogation. His status as a night-wandering god from the 4th level of the town's envoy allowed him to enter this place unimpeded. In one of the cages, a man with disheveled hair and a withered face, who looked like a beggar, had his legs bound by chains. He looked haggard and weak, sitting on the ground helplessly. The glory of the third-grade minister general in the past was completely gone. It can be vaguely seen that the appearance of this third-grade minister is very attractive to women, but in such a dark and dead environment, no matter how good-looking the skin is, there is no advantage at all. "Husband, husband." A delicate voice sounded. The minister suddenly raised his head and saw his wife standing outside the cage, covering her mouth with tears in her eyes. His eyes were dazed, and his withered face showed a bit of disbelief. His eyes were fixed on this beautiful woman who was delicate and loving, with a graceful figure, as attractive as a peach, and exuding the charm of a mature woman. That's right, this is his wife. But why can a prisoner in Beijing prison come here? Moreover, he found that his wife's face was rosy and shiny, and the cheongsam on her body outlined her wonderful figure. Further down, the slits of the cheongsam revealed a bit of fairness when swinging, making people want to explore deeper. He was confused. Those who didn't know better thought that his wife was visiting the prison from home. Although the prisoners detained in Beijing prison are not as miserable as him, they are still prisoners in essence. When did they get such good treatment? But then I thought about it. Yes. His father-in-law should have taken care of him in advance. My father-in-law is the prime minister of the current dynasty, so he may not be able to clear his daughter's crime, but if the jailer in the capital prison takes care of her, I believe no one will deny her face. And if a jailed prisoner can show up here to visit the prison, doesn't this mean that his wife has been released? Think of this. A bit of hope rekindled in the minister's eyes. It's like grabbing the last straw. He shouted, "Madam, have you been freed from suspicion?" "What about me? I was wrongly accused. You should know this. When can I go out?" Hear this. The waiter's wife evaded her eyes and pursed her lips. "I was not released, someone brought me here." The words fell. Only then did the minister notice that a strange man was following behind his wife. He has black hair and black eyes, and his wrist is tied with a blood-stained hemp rope. His appearance is much more handsome than him. Standing with his wife, he looks like a talented man and a golden boy. Night-traveling god. Zhenfu envoy. The minister-in-waiting noticed the robe on Shen Jianjian's body. It was an official uniform that only 4th-grade governors were qualified to wear. Even a 1st-grade Grand Duke would have to give a bit of credit to a night-wandering god of this level, let alone a 3rd-grade minister like him. When did my wife meet such a nocturnal god? Doubt flashed in the minister's eyes. Looking at the two people standing together, not knowing that there were two other people, a man and a woman, he felt a little uneasy in his heart. But soon he dismissed this thought. "You guys chat." Shen Jian's eyes were strange, and he took a few steps back, half of his body hidden behind the vice minister's wife. "Act as a transparent person." The waiter's wife then explained, "He is a friend I met in Jinglao. He said he could help us investigate the truth and clear our grievances." The minister was stunned. Real or fake? Did the father-in-law promise some price? Otherwise, a night-wandering god who has the power to kill first and then report later will help them? Or, what deal did the wife make with the other party? "My lord, I know some information that may be of great help to you in solving the case." The minister's doubts have not diminished, but for now he can only believe in the other party. He was not ignorant of his current situation. In the days after he was framed, he actively contacted his friends abroad, but there was no news from any of them. From that moment on, he knew he had been abandoned and made a scapegoat. Now there was finally someone willing to help him, and even if there was something wrong with it, he would seize the opportunity. "Before I was imprisoned, I found several unusual money records in the Ministry of Household Affairs. The clues pointed directly to Prince Li of the current dynasty. After checking here, I had already given up, but suddenly I was charged with treason. I suspect that all this has something to do with Prince Li. Sir, you can check around Prince Li." The words have not yet finished. Shen Jian interrupted, "It was indeed Prince Li who did it?" As soon as these words came out, the pupils of the minister in the cage widened. He originally wanted to say, "Check the people around Prince Li." Unexpectedly, Shen Jian gave him a bolt from the blue. The culprit who made him the scapegoat was actually Prince Li himself? This moment, his figure was shaky. The entire grimace had completely lost its luster, and his face was ashen. At this time, the vice minister's wife was curious. It turns out that the one who was imprisoned in the capital prison a few days ago was really Prince Li. I thought I was wrong. What? The minister was startled, and then his voice suddenly rose up. "Prince Li was arrested?" "Yes, he caught it." The waiter's wife nodded and pointed at Shen Jian. "See it?" The minister looked like he had seen a ghost. Has the power of night travel god reached this level? Dare to arrest even the emperor's brother? This is not seeking death. I can't help it. I agreed to someone's conditions and enjoyed the service. Naturally, I have to fulfill my promise. Shen Jian emphasized the word someone, and his right hand, which was hidden behind the wife of the minister, grasped the softest part of the other person's back. "There is only one thought left in my mind, good fertility." This sudden touch made the waiter's wife tense up all over. His whole body was shaking slightly. It seems that he did not expect that Shen Jian would dare to be so bold. To blaspheme her in such a place and on such an occasion. The panic flashed in her eyes. I wanted to stop Shen Jian, but there was no chance. I could only endure this abnormality and remain the same in front of my husband. At this time, the minister still had a look of despair. Although he was looking at the two people outside the cage, his eyes were not focused at all. Otherwise, you will definitely find that your wife is shaking slightly, as if she is enduring something. A long time. He suddenly remembered something. He stared straight at Shen Jian, who was behind his wife, with half of his body exposed. "Sir, you dare to arrest Prince Li, do you have a way to convict him?" His eyes were filled with anticipation. A fourth-grade governor had no power to arrest Prince Li, but the other party not only arrested him, but also sent him to the capital prison, which meant that Shen Jian was not timid at all. Maybe, this person really has the ability to help him get rid of his guilt. Shen Jian paused. There was a bit of excitement on his face. "Of course, if nothing happens, you and your wife should be released in a few days." Hear this. Not only was the wife of the assistant minister shocked, but the official's eyes were also widened. Immersed in the great joy of being cleared of wrongdoing. He didn't notice anything unusual about his wife at all. In the dark corridor, it was even more difficult to see clearly the increasingly rosy and charming face of his wife. She looked at her husband, who was in great joy and couldn't extricate himself, and asked her why she came here. "Your brother said that you kept a concubine outside? More than one? How did you tell my father in the first place?" Hear this. The waiter's face froze. He had already scolded his brother bloody in his heart. He explained in a panic. "He is lying to you. I have only loved you from beginning to end. How could he do such a thing?" The waiter's wife said nothing. "Turn around and leave." She already got the answer she wanted. See this. The minister was panicked. "Madam, I am your husband, you won't just die without saving me, right?" The waiter's wife paused and left without hesitation. "My lord, you are sent here by my father-in-law. I just have a conflict with her. You must save me." Shen Jian's face was expressionless. "Leave the same." From the beginning, his purpose was simply a transaction, but now, even if the vice minister's wife said to give up the transaction, he would not agree. He didn't care whether the assistant minister could save him or not. But Prince Li must die. He also had to die in full view of the public and under the will of the people. As soon as Prince Li died, the vice minister's charges were naturally cleared. Even if he didn't say anything, the father of the vice minister's wife would secretly operate and acquit him. Only after this episode, how much love between the two is left as a couple? With this thought, Shen Jian quickly caught up with the vice minister's wife. Just getting closer. The waiter's wife turned around. Looking at her husband's cage, the guilt in her eyes gradually disappeared. She held her head high and closed her eyes. See it? Shen Jian was stunned at first. A bit of light suddenly bloomed in his eyes. No hesitation. He put his arms around the waist of the waiter's wife, pulled her into his arms, and then leaned forward to kiss her. The moving and delicate body responded enthusiastically. Now, if the waiter stood against the cage and looked out, he might be able to see his wife passionately kissing a strange man on the corridor less than 10 meters away. The delicate body that only belonged to him was being invaded and desecrated by another man. "Take me back to your cell." "A long time." The waiter's wife whispered. "I no longer feel any guilt towards my husband." She sacrificed herself in exchange for this deal. She originally thought that as long as she got through it, she could return to the previous harmony with her husband. But she didn't expect it. My husband is one thing on the outside but another behind his back. He obviously said that he would only love her in this life, and said in front of her father that he would never marry a concubine, but he kept a concubine behind his back and lived a very unhappy life. No wonder I was often away from home a long time ago. It turned out that he didn't dare to see her. That being the case, then let each live his own life. There was revenge in her eyes, then complexity. Her husband was a scumbag and the man in front of her was a devil. Tempting and depraved. But, he was also a man who walked into her heart and made her choose to fall. Hear the words. If Shen Jian hesitates, he is no longer a man. The next day, Shen Jian was in a good mood. The original servant's wife obeyed him because of the transaction. She was somewhat resistant to him instinctively, but she just couldn't resist. And after yesterday's meeting, the waiter's wife became more and more proactive. Just like how she treated her husband, she allowed him to experience the infinite charm of a mature woman. However, at this time, there was a commotion. Class Acel welcomed the warden here. "What are you doing? Are you rebelling? Don't forget, you are prisoners here, not guests. Who gave you the power to shut me out?" The warden roared. The rickety body was straight, and the old face showed a terrifying supernatural oppression. Looking at the old man with a grimace, the ghostly eyes, and the paranoid man blocking the outside of the class cell, the resentment in his eyes was about to explode. He was the dignified prison warden of Beijing Prison, but he was actually blocked from the territory under his jurisdiction. This is a great disgrace. The old man with a grimace laughed and pointed at a sign that read "Pay attention to hygiene" standing outside the door. Warden? He was slightly startled. Damn it! Is this a sign that should appear in prisons? Are you crazy? Or am I crazy? You bunch of prisoners, now tell me to take care of my hygiene? What a fuss. He relaxed a little. An old face twitched and said in a cold voice, "Go away, I want to release Prince Li who is imprisoned here. Anyone who dares to stop him will be prepared to stay here for another 100 years. At this time, an ominous premonition flashed through his heart. Feeling uneasy about the changes in this prison. He had only disappeared for 10 days and a half, but he didn't expect such changes to happen in the class cell. Moreover, someone actually imprisoned Prince Li in the class cell. When he heard this news, he was still outside, and he was almost stunned. He now wants to know who the newly appointed 4th grade night traveling god is, who actually threw this hot potato at his side. This is not a frame-up. At this time, the atmosphere was tense. At this time, Shen Jian walked over with a bit of laziness. Get out of the way, this is the warden. How dare you to stop this lord? Shen Jian spoke. The 3 ghosts blocking the cell immediately gave way. Warden? No. Who are you? Just give in to the other party? What you did is better than what I, the warden, said. Where are you hanging out? He looked. Just in time to see Shen Jian coming towards him. The pupils shrank immediately. Is it you? You're not dead. The warden said in surprise. What are you talking about? You are not dead even when you are old. How could I die at such a young age? Shen Jian said casually. Damn it, just shut up if you can't speak. The warden was a little choked. You have been in the class cell? Did you release these prisoners? Do you know the consequences of doing this? Once these people break out of the prison, you will not be able to fill up the life you have. Forget it, I'm too lazy to tell you this. Go and release Prince Li. If you neglect him, no one can save you. Shen Jian did not respond or take any action. Just stood there quietly. Just look at each other. You, little jailer, dare to disobey my orders. The warden showed a ferocious expression. Then he pointed at the other jailers who came after hearing the news, and shouted, What are you doing standing still? Catch him, and then please bring Prince Li out. The words fell. No one answered. Because these jailers who came after hearing the news are all players. And as the commotion grew louder, more and more jailers came running over. But still no one stood up. They all stood silently, looking at Shen Jian. He looked like he was waiting for orders. See this situation. The warden finally noticed something was wrong. He looked at Shen Jian with surprise and suspicion in his eyes. At this time, Shen Jian spoke. Former warden, you are unpopular. The words have not yet finished. The warden interrupted, I am the current warden. Well, then your news is a little behind. Shen Jian said. The doors of the class cells were all pushed open, and evil spirits walked out one after another. Class C cells and all the cells in Class C cells were also opened. Thousands of evil spirits crawled over, taking up the entire prison. Saw this scene. The warden's expression changed drastically, and his entire face turned pale. The brain is even more blank. Damn it! What the happened? What kind of random talk about killing 1,000 swords actually released all the prisoners in the capital prison? Thinking. Shen Jian grinned, tell this lonely old man, who is the warden here? Warden Shen. Countless jailers and prisoners all spoke in unison, shouting loudly. Warden, crossed out, the lonely old man. He was confused. He looked at Shen Jian in disbelief. His fists clenched immediately. Extremely angry. Damn it, I just disappeared for half a month and was humming ignored? It's not enough to bribe the jailers, you also bribe the prisoners. Whose warden needs support from the prisoners? You have such charisma, so you can rebel on horseback. Why are you trying to steal the warden's position from me? Think of this. He was so angry that his back molars almost broke. Don't think you are ignoring me. You are the warden here. I accepted my fate personally from the imperial court. No one can remove me except the imperial court. The lonely old man's eyes are about to burst. Shen Jian didn't rush, put on the robe of the night traveler, threw a pile of information in the other person's face, and sneered, "This is your evidence of guilt. From today on, you will also be investigated. By the way, is there any empty cell here? Cell 36 is still vacant. Then take him down." Shen Jian waved his hand. It wasn't until he was being escorted by two jailers that the former warden realized what he was doing. He looked at Shen's body-worn costume of the night wandering god, which symbolized the fourth-level governor of the town, and then looked at the evidence against him in the underground. He was completely dumbfounded. Grass. He just didn't want Prince Li to be a hot potato in his hands, so he wanted to release him. Unexpectedly, when he came back, not only would his power be removed, but he would also become a humming prisoner. Is the world crazy, or is he crazy? Besides, why did a little jailer become a night-wandering god in just over half a month? Still serving as a member of the fourth rank? Shady. There must be something shady about this. He refused. He wants to appeal. Be honest. Shen Jian cursed. Kick the former warden. He behaves like a prison bully. See this. The former warden was shaking with rage. But the evidence of guilt was right in front of him, and he couldn't refute it. And Yaoshan has the power to kill first and then kill him. If he takes action, it will give the other party the opportunity to kill him. Then, the famous warden of Beijing prison suddenly became a prisoner of Beijing prison. All the ghosts were shocked. Like looking at a god.